So I'm going to assume that since the recording has started, that you are all there, out there in library land right now. So we'll dive into this presentation. I want to introduce my partner in crime with this at the moment, which is Lisa Greiner. She is my marketing specialist. She also has been a public library director as well, among other things. And she will be helping me towards the end of this presentation. So we're just going to take a look at the system today, and it's going to be a very brief overview, he says. And I really want to focus on three aspects of the system, really. One is the intuitiveness, so to speak, of the system. It is easy to use. It is easy to anticipate what's going to happen next. You'll see that especially in things like circulation and in the discovery layer as well. I hope I get a chance to show some of the flexibility that's in the system. Libraries behave differently, want different things. We have a good degree of flexibility in the system that is easy for you to go in and make those changes. The other thing is that we've been very intentional with the design of this software. You should see, and that really comes through in the intuitiveness of the system as well. We've thought very carefully about how things work. We've taken a lot of feedback from users. We've done a lot of examination of the way the system works. So hopefully you will see from this that the system has some refinements there that really only come about from having used the system and having taken feedback from our users. So with that, I'm going to dive into the system and we will take a whirlwind tour of the system. So this is a launch page, typically what your staff would see, and that might be dependent on what location they're at. And from there, I can go in and I can launch the various modules of the system. The system is entirely web-based, entirely web-based. So with that, let's go in and look at the discovery layer. So here's a typical discovery layer. You get to design this to a certain extent with your own banners and colors. You get to design what links there are at the top. You can decide what languages are available at the bottom. English, Spanish, and French are standard. You can also build your own language files if you want, say, simplified Chinese or simplified Korean or Farsi or Vietnamese or whatever. What you'll see right here is a carousel. You can have up to 5 carousels in the system, and they will allow you to scroll through and see what's available. You set this up, and you can set that up using either safe searches or lists that you've curated. And staff at each location can build these lists. So each location can have their own configuration. You can even have multiple configurations in a particular location if you wish. So with that in mind, let's dive in and have a look. The first thing I really want to show you is just intuitiveness of the system. And I'm just going to start with a predictive search. So I'm just going to type in pride and prejudice. And I'm thinking, is it prejudice or prejudice? It's pride prejudice. And so I've got suggestions for titles. I've got suggestions for frequent searches. And those are searches that your library uses. So now what you're seeing is a result set. You see I've got 46 hits in the library catalog, and then I can also have e-resource hits. And then I can scroll through. Immediately, we're thinking about the things people want to do most. Hey, is it available? Can I place a hold on it? Can I add it to a list? Can I add it to a search? Do I want to change the sort order? In this case, I can go through and take a look. I want to look at this particular title. And then with the flexibility here, I can design this screen. I can decide what information shows up and the order in which it shows. If I want, I can browse things like a virtual shelf and I can see what else is available. If I was at the shelves right now, what would I actually see? That's a nice feature. I also have the ability to go in and look at the other results in the system without going back to the results. Copy and information and reviews and such like, but let's look at related information. So we have Syndetics Unbound here. So you get a lot of information delivered to your patrons about this title, this author, and this genre. So there's related information. And again, this is more information that's available. And you can dive into this, look at excerpts, more about the author, more by Jane Austen. Okay. So with that, let's go back to my result set. And as I mentioned, I've got a result set here of titles. You'll notice on the left, I've got my facets, and I could open up other facets like genre, for example. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to limit this down, and we have by default in this configuration set up format. So I'm just going to go into e-resources, and now I'm seeing my e-resources. And at this point, I can perhaps want to download a title. So I can click download. And it comes up and it asks me for an easy username and password or a library card. Ease of use is important. Your patrons don't necessarily think about a 14-digit barcode and a 4-digit password that you have provided to them. We give them the option of having logged in once to create their own easy username and password. So Nick, my son, can log in with his name and he can log in with his nickname. And with that, he logs into the system. And now he has the ability to download that Overdrive book that he was after. Notice that we have not left the catalog. And at that point, I can take that book. API will check with this. And now I have the ability to either begin the download now or download it later. Since I'm in Nick's record right now, let's go off and have a look at that. And I can go to his account summary. I can look at his contact information. You may, if you wish, allow patrons to decide how they want to be notified for various notifications. You can also link patrons together. And you see here that Nick is responsible for Andy. Patron privacy says Nick doesn't actually see what books Andy has checked out. I could add another borrower if I wanted to. I can go to my summary. I can go to my account activity. I can view my fines. And at that point, if I wished, I could go in and pay those fines if I'd set up electronic fine payments. I can go to lists and save searches, and I can look at my loan history if I've turned that on. So there's some basic things that I can do with Nick's account. Other things, while we're here, I can go off and do advanced searching, and I can do searching by reading levels, for example, by Lexile and accelerated reader scores, or by ranges of scores. So with that, let's go ahead and move on and look at a few other things in the system. So I'm going to go into LS2 Kids. LS2 Kids is an interface for emerging readers. We don't expect all patrons to access a single interface. So we want to give you the flexibility of being able to address different age groups here. So what I have here is series and chapter books, and I'm looking for my favorite here. My grandson is a big Pete the Cat fan, so I can click on Pete the Cat. We curate this for you, and you will see all the popular juvenile materials here, children's materials here, and we also present these in publication order. Now, I mentioned earlier about being having intent with what we're doing. Notice here we've got in and out. We found that our own users, typically, they were not clicking on the title. If they wanted the book, they would click on the out button and they say, oh, do you want this book? Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. Oh, I want to get this book. And then it could take me off into Hoopla, for example. So with this, you have the ability to go in and look at the title and I want this. It's about details. It's simple. It's aimed at emerging readers. Okay, so those are series and chapter books, and it will only display the titles that you have, even though we have curated these lists. We also offer categories as well. And again, with that business of being intentional with our displays, I would just want to mention here, we've kept the organization very flat. So we haven't got into things like jungle cats and then tigers or anything like that. You go straight into a particular thing. So if you're interested, for example, let me see, I think we've got, let me see, I was looking for something in particular. Yeah, I think we've got football coming up soon. So again, there I am, and I'm in particular subjects. So I can explore categories there, and off I go. I also have the ability to do a search. And if I'm not sure how to spell something, Scout dog will come back and say, oh, did you mean dinosaurs? Okay. With that, I mentioned that the flexibility is there for other things. I want to show you two other things here. Our standard catalog offers responsive design. The screen on the left is my smartphone displaying the standard catalog, the standard URL, but using responsive design. And then also on top of that, we have a TLC Go, which is an app that we have. Notice there that you can have events. We offer an events module with that as well. So there's a brief overview of the patron interface. I'm now going to go into staff. Again, going back to ease of use, intuitive. I'm going to check some books out to a couple of patrons, and I'm going to go to check-in, and I'm going to touch the keyboard once. Actually, I'll touch the keyboard or the mouse once. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pull up a patron without touching keyboard or mouse. I can start checking out books to Sophie. Sophie is finished with that. If the system prints the thing, that's fine. And then all I have to do, even though the system is waiting for me to check out another book, I'm going to wand in a different patron. And now I can go in and start checking out items for them. I still have not touched the keyboard or the mouse. Again, intuitive, easy to use. We're thinking of workflows. We're thinking of speed. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and either with F3 or by clicking the check-in button, I go to check-in. I have options there at check-in, but in this case, I just want to check those items back in again. And again, with that, I see the basic information that's there, and I can go into those individual items if I wish, and I can go into those titles and look at those borrowers. Now, I'm still here at check-in, and the system is expecting me to check in another title. Instead, I'm going to check in another patron. Again, without having to go to the checkout screen, the system says, that was a patron, and it pulls it up. So here I have a patron. Notice here what's going on. I have a summary screen of the basics. If I need anything there, I can go into it, like an arrived hold. I can click here and go into arrived holds. I can also go over here and click and see her holds. But also I've got a very bold page there that is showing me any blocks. One is a soft block, an arrived hold, and one is a hard block, account balance. So with that, again, I could go into arrived holds, click there. I could go into here and look at holds. In this case, I'm going to click on arrived hold, and there I am in the system. And now I can go in and cancel a hold. I can reprint a hold and send that hold notification again, or I can go in and view the holds queue for that item. And I can move people up and down the queue if I have the privileges to do so. The system has a lot of granularity in the system, so your staff can be given privileges that other colleagues don't have. So with that, we'll go on and we'll look at a few other things. Talking of holds, I can go into staff services at the top and I can view my hold shelf. If I have holds that need to be picked up and filled on the hold shelf, I've got my messages. And notice I've actually got a message bar at the top there that's telling me that. I can go in and look at individual titles and items here, and we'll come to that in a minute. I can transfer items between collections, and we have academic reserves as well. So those are some of the basics there. We also have a self-service mode. What I want to do now is show you something else that I think you will find very powerful. So staff often need to know lists and have basic reports in the system. We have something called lists and actions, and that is the ability to create lists either by searches. In this case, I'm looking at my own lists and searches, saving a search, or saving a list. There's a list, and this is a search. So I can go in and do that, and I'm just going to show you how simple it is to create an ad hoc report right here within circulation. So notice the indexes that I've got here. I'm just going to go in and use author, and I'm going to say contains the word code. Too many C's, too many L's. Sorry about that. Jody Picot. I'm going to add another one here of checkouts. And I'm going to say I want the total number of checkouts to be greater than 10. Notice I've got options for before and after dates as well. And I'm going to select one more here, not collection in this case, but format. And I can be specific with more formats, but no, I'm just going to say audiobooks in general without specifying the type. And at that point, I'm going to go ahead and run that search. And I get a result set straight away. That's 100,000 titles I've just searched, and I get a very fast response there. Again, this is using OCI from Oracle, hosting in the Oracle Cloud. You get amazing response times in the system. So with that list there, I can highlight all of those. I can save them to a list. I can export them. I can save that as a search or save that as a list. What I can also do here is go in and look at an individual title. And now I can find out everything about that title, previous people who used it, when it was added to the system, has it been inventoried and such like. And then I can go off and do other things as well. So I could view it in the holds queue. If there's a holds queue for that title, I could view it in pack, or I could go in and view that in cataloging, which I'm going to do. So now I've moved across into cataloging. Notice in cataloging, what we have here is a form-based layout for cataloging. We do have a full text version if you need it, but this is the form-based version. It is a very powerful system. Notice here that I can scroll through. Now, one of the things that really is quite unique in our system is real-time authority control. TLC started as a cataloging company. I can go in here under Jody Picoult, and I can browse in real time LC authorities. In this case, I want to select Jody Picoult. But I could go in and I can also look not just at its mark, which again is yesterday's LC authorities, but also I can go in and look at my local authorities as well. We also have glossaries for things like genres and awards. So I could do something like thriller here, and it's going to pull that up. And then I can scroll through. I've got my subjects. Again, all authority control in the system. The system will automatically update authorities on a nightly basis. So if you have the authority for Jimmy Carter in your system with TLC, if LC has updated that authority in the last week, that will show up automatically in your system. So there is a form-based layout for circulation. It's wonderful for your paraprofessionals who are doing copy cataloging. Notice also I got a tab here for physical items. Do I want to save those changes? No, I don't. Now I can go in and look at my physical items. I can add items. I can edit. I can do batch changes there as well. I can look at electronic resources. I can also go in and look at enhanced content. This is really useful. If you know the enhanced, if you can see as a cataloger the content that is being brought to the patron by Syndetics, you can catalog within the context of what else is being delivered. So you can see the information that's being delivered by Syndetics. You can also, of course, find that this can be very useful if the link is actually incorrect and I've got the wrong URL or the wrong metadata showing up there. So there's the basics of cataloging in that. I'm going to show you a couple of other things as well. I can go in and manage my authorities, my unverified authorities. We have a very nice import utility for importing bib records into the system. You have a number of ways of doing that. I won't get into that right now. We have a fast add ILL, which you will be taken to from circulation. Note, I mentioned earlier that we have real-time authority control. Again, as a cataloging company, we also provide a database of up to 80 million MARC records, optionally. And notice here that if I had a brief record here, the system can automatically try and match that ISBN against a full ITSMARC record and put that into the system. That's a useful feature. On top of that, we also have inventory. We have live inventory in the system. I'm not going to show it from my tablet right now, but I could pull this up on a tablet or a laptop. I can go to the shelves and with a little screen like this, I can go off a little scanner like this. I can go to the shelves and I can do live inventory. So if I was in nonfiction, for example, I could start going in and just start doing inventory live in the system. Okay. Inventory will also be updated by any SIP transactions, say coming from a self-check unit. Okay, two other things I want to show you briefly. We have spaces. This is the ability to have workspaces within cataloging where you can go off and do lots of batch things. So in this case, I'm going to look at duplicate candidates. Actually, I'll look at dedupes. And so here I've got potential duplicate candidates. I can select all those, and there's a lot of things I could do. I could go in, I could compare them and see all those and decide which one I want. I could also go in and edit those and show a few other things. Not sure what's going on there. So with that, we will move ahead and I will take you to reports. Okay. So with this, TLC provides what we think is the most powerful reporting suite in the industry. It's a product called Cognos. It's a business intelligence suite by IBM. We offer over 300 standard reports in the system. But on top of that, we also offer a report authoring tool. So you can go in and author your own reports, either using drag and drop or by using SQL commands. You've got a combination of the both there. Again, a lot of over 300 reports are available in the system. I'm going to go to my content, however, and I'm going to look at the reports that I have in my own folder. Each user in the system or each location in the system gets a user license. And with that, I can go in. One of the things I want to show you here is a dashboard that is really useful for showing you the real-time activity at the circulation desk. So this is a breakdown of my borrowers at the moment by type, arrived and available status. This is a breakdown of all my items in the system by collection code, electronic and physical. I've got a breakdown of my circulation desk and what's happening there in terms of the number of holds and the number of circulations in the last hour or two. And then of course I can also look at my holds, my arrived, in transit and pending holds. So again, that's a dashboard and we're building that out further, but that gives your staff a real-time view of what's going on the circulation desk today. So going back to that, I'm going to go back to content again. I mentioned that we have the ability to have parameterized reports. So let's go ahead and look at one of those. And let's look at building one of those parameters. So in this case, here's a standard parameterized report. What location do I want? I'm going to do a report here of responsible parties. This could be an adult who is responsible for items checked out by their child. So I'm going to look at the main library. Do I want to show all items out or only overdue? All items out. Display the replacement cost. Display the book jacket cover. Yes. I'm going to do that for all borrower types. I want to display the borrower type. And with that, I can run and finish that report. You can run these reports during the day. Again, with the OCI environment, you've got the power there to really move ahead. So with that, now I see a report of the system. I can see that PDF. I can see it in Excel. I can run that again, and I'm going to go back and show you a couple of other things. So going back again to
Thank you so much,
menu.
Jerry. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jerry, but we do have to open it up to Q&A.
Gotcha.
You have such great information. And of course, we will follow up with you, but I'm opening up the Q&A right now. So if you have any questions,
That's
please
fine.
put them down in the Q&A widget at this time. And we did get a few questions already. But before I get to those, I'm going to launch a poll for everybody. So if you're interested in getting more information, because we definitely have so much we can share with you, and especially if you want a more personalized demo for you and your staff, be sure to click that yes button when it shows up on your screen. All right. And let's see to our questions. And again, thank you so much, Jerry. That was so much great information.
Thank you.
The first question that I have is how does the system work with RFID? Do we need to be an RFID enabled library?
You don't need to be an RFID enabled library, but we work very well with RFID. TLC, in fact, is the only library vendor out there that owns an RFID company. We own TechLogic. We have owned them for over 20 years. And they are a US manufacturer of RFID equipment and materials handling equipment. So we have a lot of expertise with RFID. And in fact, our own inventory module works very nicely with inventory ones. And also, in fact, if you're doing RFID self-check, the inventory module will pull up the self-check transactions there and add those into the system. So yeah, we are very familiar with RFID, and we can put you in touch with our colleagues in the other part of the company that deal with RFID, or work, of course, with anything that you have currently.
Great, great. Another question we have, let's see, can any staff member create and run new reports?
Yes, they can. We can give as many reports licenses as you need, and you can give those staff the ability to go in and run reports. There's a lot of granularity with that as well, so you can decide what they can run reports on. And they can either have access to the parameterized reports, or they can have the ability to go in and write their own. You also may give staff the ability to schedule reports as well. The system allows you to schedule reports and have those delivered to you by email if you wish.
Great. We also have a question from Clayton County, it looks like. Can this system hold a history of patrons' checkouts?
Yes, they can. Yep. I ran out of time to show everything, but yes, one of the things that you can do is you can store a history of patron checkouts. That can be limited to certain views by staff. So for example, volunteers at the front desk wouldn't be able to see history. You could even limit it so only the patron can see the history of their checkouts. Also, if you delete those checkouts and turn off that feature, you can turn it on and off for individual patrons. Once you turn that off, that history is scrubbed forever and cannot be retained or retrieved.
All right. And then I have one more question here. Can any more titles, more than 5 titles, be added to the carousel?
You can have up to 5 carousels. You can have an unlimited number of titles in an individual carousel. So you could build a list of 100 titles in there if you wished. Or of course, if you ran a report, for example, the carousel can be informed by a search. So I could do a search that says, show in the carousel all the new books that I've added in the last 6 months. That could run into a couple of 100 titles. So yes, you could do that. But 5 carousels in a configuration. We will be adding in a future release the ability to create lists, and those will populate at the bottom of a launch screen in the discovery layer. And then staff will be able to curate lists, say, of genres, for example, for patrons to explore. Yeah.
All right. Thank you
Anything
so
else?
much. That looks like all the questions we have right now. So, oh wait, we might have one more. Just kidding. Um, let's see. It says I didn't see very well the cataloging function screens. Can we pull those back up again real quick?
Certainly. Something strange happened to my cataloging module at that point, and I'm not sure why. So my apologies on that. Let me just relaunch that. Oh, there we are. We're back in there again. So within the cataloging launch thing, so here's recent activity. We see someone here, Steve, is going in and editing a record. I could perhaps go in and look at that. So there is my form-based cataloging screen. And I can go in there. Again, I'm dropping into real-time authorities here. It's either LC authorities or local authorities, if there were any. And again, I can add notes. I've got awards that I can do, and there's a genre of awards. Sorry, there's a glossary of awards there. And I can add all of those. So really, as opposed to a lot of the modules you might be used to, where you're in cataloging and then you have to have a separate screen up for your authorities, say from LC, and then you need another screen up there where you've got a list of all your genres, and then you've got another screen up with a list of all your award winners and awards that you can put in. With this, we really try to bring everything together on a single screen.
All right, great. And of course, we'd be happy to show you more in a demo.
Yes.
So we can definitely reach out to you for that.
I will
Other
point
than
one
that,
last thing out there, and that is that in making edits to a particular record, I don't have to write them directly back to the catalog. I can save them to a title space, which is a workspace, and then I can carry on and put them into a batch and then republish them back to the catalog later. So I can work on things outside of the catalog. In other words, inside cataloging. That's a very powerful feature there with our spaces.
I know as a former librarian that I would have loved that. Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have, and we are out of time. So thank you again, Jerry. Thank you everyone for attending. And of course, we're happy to reach out if you would like a more personalized demo for you and your staff. So thank you
Yep.
so much.
Thank you.